This Monday, December 16th, NBA Betting Picks edition of the NBA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with promo code NBA SGPN to get a 50% deposit bonus of up to $1,000. We're also brought to you by Rebet, a new sportsbook available in 45 states. Download Rebet in your app store and use promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit match up to $100. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm, the leader in data-driven picks and props. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. To the NBA Gambling Podcast, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Brand new week of betting here in the association. Should be a fun week of hoops. We've got the NBA Cup finals on Tuesday night, off day on Wednesday, and then we get back to the regularly scheduled program after the NBA Cup games have concluded on Tuesday. So, and then we got Christmas Day games next week. I can't believe I'm saying that. But joining me here to help me break everything down happening on the hardwood, you guys know him as the voice of the Tennis Gambling Podcast, the WNBA Gambling Podcast, the MLB Gambling Podcast, and of course here on the NBA Gambling Podcast, it's Scott Studio Reichel. Scott, what's going on, my man? How you doing?
Yeah, doing pretty well. I know we had a special episode for the NBA Cup on Friday night. That went pretty well. I know we like the unders in both games, and money came in on the over. For some reason, I don't know why, both unders cashed easily. Hit the lock at the under in the Hawks game. Did lose the dog, though. Had Hardenstein rebounds, parlayed with the Thunder to cover. They covered. Unfortunately, Hardenstein didn't get the 10 rebounds. Either way, though, point is overall a pretty good, I'd say, NBA Cup semis for me. And I know that we ended up liking the unders, and those cashed pretty easily.
Yeah, I did have the Hardenstein rebound ladder as well. Unfortunately, that one didn't get to the window. I did like the under in the Rockets and the Thunder game. That one fairly easily got to the window after a very, very poor start. And I think that continued pretty much throughout the entire game there. I know they started scoring a little bit there in the fourth quarter, but I mean, at that point, you needed a couple overtimes to get to the over there. But yeah, that one came fairly easily to the window. So pretty good weekend as far as the semifinal games. They were both very competitive and a lot of fun to watch. But now we have the Thunder and the Milwaukee Bucks in the NBA Cup finals happening on Tuesday night in Vegas. We go to recap what we saw yesterday in the association. Had a couple of pretty good games in there yesterday. More and so maybe the game last night between the Warriors and the Dallas Mavericks, setting the NBA record of most three-pointers made in a NBA contest, which was, I believe, previously set earlier in the week, but a 143-133 victory for the Dallas Mavericks, led by Luka, who finished the game with 45 points, 11 rebounds, 13 assists. Klay Thompson, think this might just continue to be something for the rest of his career when he goes back to the Bay Area. He had a phenomenal game as well for the Dallas Mavericks, finished the game with 29 points, 9 of 14 shooting. 7 of those 9 field goals made were from beyond the arc. Him and Luka combined to go 13 of 24 from beyond the arc. Quentin Grimes, 4 of 8. Kyrie Irving, 21 points, 8 assists in that game as well. And then for the Golden State Warriors, despite how great they shot the basketball, Scott, they just couldn't get it done on the defensive side of the basketball.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, trying to think of any takeaways that I had from the games yesterday. Golden State's falling apart. I mean, you addressed it. They got Schroeder, which was a pretty big trade during the weekend.
Yeah.
Golden State, though, just watching them play, I'm just not very impressed. I know that they started off the year well. Now they're kind of falling apart. So we'll see if the Schroeder move helps with the bench unit. Still don't like the rotations. The defense was terrible yesterday. Luka had basically a 50-point triple-double. Fell a bit short on the points, but he had my point. The Lakers had a nice win with LeBron coming back. He ended up playing well. AD, though, at 40 and change. So AD had a great game. Besides that, Minnesota's defense keeps playing well. So Minnesota's defense has definitely flipped a switch, which is something that's worth monitoring for opponent team totals. Knicks won. Celtics won. Pritchard had a great game off the bench, and the Pelicans are still terrible. So nothing else that was really I say worth talking about. Felt like it was a pretty standard day of NBA hoops. There wasn't any games I'd say that was filled with drama from start to finish. The
Yeah.
Knicks game was kind of close, but Orlando couldn't score. That was actually the first home loss for Orlando this entire season. But when you have no Franz and you have no Banchero, and you only have two guys on your entire team that score 10 plus points, you're not going to win. De Silva and Mo Wagner combined for 52 of their 91 points in the game. You're probably not going to win when that happens. So the main takeaway for Orlando, once again, they have a lot of injuries. Of course, we'll see if they can, get back to 100% sooner rather than later. But I think that was not that surprising when you just acknowledge that Orlando was finding ways to win games. When you're missing two very solid scores on your roster, you don't have many other options. So maybe unders with Orlando is going to be the way moving forward.
Yeah, I'm trying to see an update on Paolo Banchero. I think they said around Christmas time would be the time where he does come back, but it's been, more than 4 to 6 weeks. And yeah, they're still anticipating him coming back around Christmas. So maybe next week he does return. And then you probably don't get Franz Wagner back till after the new year at the very earliest there. So I think you're right that continue looking at unders for the Orlando Magic team. The Knicks did get the 191 victory there in Orlando yesterday. But yeah, nothing stuck out a whole heck of a lot. The Lakers and Grizzlies game turned out to be pretty good. LeBron did make his return, I should say, after missing a few games there. Anthony Davis scored 40 in that game last night for the LA Lakers, finished the game with 16 rebounds, another monster performance from him. LeBron added 18, 8, and 8 to the Lakers as well. You got 19 points from Austin Reeves as well. I know he returned from injury there as well. So a really good victory there for the Lakers over one of the better teams in the Western Conference in the Memphis Grizzlies. Scott, before we do continue the conversation here, let me just quickly tell everyone about the SGPN app. If you haven't already downloaded it, now's a great time to do that because it's completely free. You have easy access to all of our shows and all of our picks, which are also free, of course. And wherever you do get your apps, whether it's the App Store, Google Play Store, just do us a favor. Go in and download that SGPN app. It is completely free. Anything else from the weekend here, Scott, you want to get into before we get into the games for Monday?
Well, from the weekend, if you want to just recap some of the action from the NBA Cup, I feel like the main takeaway was something that we said beforehand entering the game. It's why I liked the Thunder to actually cover. Yeah, Houston needs to trade for a score. Like, they need somebody late in games because that was just atrocious. Dylan Brooks played through an illness. He played pretty well. Damn, Van Vliet was horrible. I can't stand watching Van Vliet play basketball, and I've been on record calling him overpaid for a long time. Pretty much ever since Houston signed him to that big deal. I just don't think he shoots well enough on the floor. And I get that he brings you some veteran leadership and he brings you some assisting and some rebounding for a smaller guard, but damn, he can't shoot. And you're looking at the overall lineup with Şengün, who didn't really do much. Jalen Green, we thought would struggle dealing with Dort. He didn't really do much. They just didn't have any guys who could actually score. And that was really the takeaway because OKC's offense was struggling for about a half. Then they woke up and Houston just had no answers. But watching Van Vliet chuck brick after brick, you got to trade for somebody. Now, the question is who? I know that there have been rumors about, for example, maybe Jimmy Butler being moved. I don't know if Miami would move him because they're starting to play better. So we'll see how that goes. But I think Butler makes a lot of sense in Houston if we are firing up the hypothetical trade machine and you're thinking of guys that would fit the Houston mold with the young core who have the trade pieces to get him. And they kind of fit the overall, I'd say, mindset that Butler possesses with the alpha mindset. I think Butler fits pretty well in Houston. Now, would Miami trade him? I don't know. They tried to during the offseason. Nobody took him.
Yeah.
Do that make sense? Because Van Vliet, I don't think can finish the season on this team. Because, yes, I understand they're a young roster and they want to see what they have with the current core. At the same point, though, you've been kind of exposed the last two games. Yes, you beat Golden State. You can't score because you have no go-to guys in a playoff setting in this type of fourth quarter high-pressure situation. I think you need a closer. And I think that Butler makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And that's something we've talked about as well for the Rockets, that they need that closer. And I don't think it's Jalen Green. There's almost Şengün can do, especially when he has a tough matchup defensively. So Jimmy Butler being a Houston guy as well, it makes a lot of sense for maybe him to come home and play for the hometown team. Getting a star player, another voice in the locker room. And then there's guys behind on that bench is more and so where I want to see Amen Thompson be that starting point guard for this Rockets team, because offensively, yeah, he's lacking a little bit with the jump shot. That's something that he can develop, but he's really a guy that can um, get offensive rebounds, get your offense going, play two-way, hard-nosed basketball, just like Imi Udoka once. So I think that there is eventually going to have to be a move made for a closing scorer for this Rockets team, because we've seen time and time again throughout the season that they just don't have that guy. When it does get down to crunch time, they look a little lackadaisical there, I think, for lack of better words there. But I think this was a good learning opportunity for the Rockets, especially a young group, kind of getting a taste of what the NBA playoffs would be like. Obviously, it's not up to that caliber in the NBA Cup there, but I think that was just a really good experience for this Rockets team. So I think there will be some type of trade made. I think Fred VanVleet will be the first one out, just because he is on a expiring deal, and the next the last year of his contract next year is a club option. So the Rockets could always deny or not pick that up, and then they can also trade him at the trade deadline or in the off season there. So I think they're going to be okay for this Rockets team.
Yeah, I see KC talking about how we shouldn't really be overreacting to Houston. I don't think it's an overreaction. I think that if you're looking at a potential playoff series, the West is very deep. And right now, Houston is the 3 seed. They're tied with Dallas right now, so Dallas might jump them. But you're looking at a playoff series right now against Phoenix, or maybe even Minnesota, or even like the Clippers, or there are a lot of teams that can still fluctuate with the actual seeding.
Right.
How many of those potential matchups do you feel good about as a Houston fan? Because you should right now be getting home court. Long way to go in the season. I don't know if they'd be favored over any of those teams in a potential betting market, because I know, for example, Minnesota was a dog against Phoenix in the first round last year. They won via sweep. So you don't have to be a favorite if you're going to win a series. But Houston, if they face off against the likes of maybe the Suns with Durant, maybe Minnesota, Golden State again, couple teams, the Lakers in theory, like how many of those matchups do you actually feel good about your chances? I think they'd pick them beat the Lakers, but you still have AD, you still have LeBron, you never know. But I think Houston does need somebody that you can go to in big moments scoring-wise down the stretch. And I feel like it's pretty difficult to actually win playoff series if you don't have that option.
Yeah, and I don't think that'd be favored over the Minnesota Timberwolves. I think the Clippers may be close to a pick 'em.
If the Clippers get in, once again, there's
Yeah.
a massive amount of
Right.
teams that are still within like half a game of each other. The
Yeah.
Clippers, the Lakers, the Warriors, the Timberwolves, the Suns, and the Nuggets are all separated by half a game. So you have 5 teams separated by, actually no, 6 teams separated by half a game. So it could be just complete chaos for the actual projections for first round playoff matchups, but I don't think Houston has enough scoring.
Yeah, they don't. And I think that I would anticipate them. I think they still finish as a top 6 seed, just because the way they play basketball, at least during the regular season.
I think
but
with the
I don't
depth,
think they would be matched up.
They should have a home court advantage in the first round, in my opinion. But I don't know if that's good enough.
Yeah. I think this is a team right now with this current roster. We'll see what happens at the trade deadline as we approach it. But I think with this current roster as constructed, I think there would be a team that would be bounced in the first round. And there's no shame in that.
Ceiling second round,
right?
opinion.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. 100%. All right, Scott. Before we get into the card here for the Monday games, let me just quickly remind everybody about our good old friends over at Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Pick'em has one of the biggest menus of all sports. You can win up to 1,000x with Underdog streaks. Underdog is always making it easier to win with profit boosts and gimme pick'ems. NFL, college football, college basketball, MMA, NBA, NASCAR, and more. You can now use specials and boosts on all flex entries. Sign up with promo code NBA SGPN to claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Make sure you use that promo code NBA SGPN. And we're also brought to you by Rebet. Rebet is a new social sportsbook available in 45 states. There are plenty of betting opportunities that are available on Rebet. It's easy to use and great for people in states where traditional sports books may be restricted. Download Rebet in the App Store and use the promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit match up to $100. Again, that's Rebet. Make sure you use that promo code SGPN. All right, let's get into the card here for the Monday games. Get back to my odd screen and get the injury report going. But the first game on the board we'll get into here will be the Miami Heat. They are in Detroit to take on the Pistons. Pistons currently catching 4.5 points here at home with a total of 219 in this game. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, starting here with Miami, Nikola Jovic will be out for the Miami Heat. He's dealing with a left ankle sprain. And Josh Richardson is out as well. He's dealing with a right heel inflammation, I should say. Detroit Pistons, no Tobias Harris tonight. And that is pretty much it for the Pistons. Heat laying 4.5 here. Scott, against the Pistons, what are you thinking?
Yeah, so I think I am and actually late with Miami. I know that we have a hard time actually trusting the Heat to cover, but they've been good lately. They're on a winning streak right now. Detroit, though, has kind of fallen off a cliff. They were good against the Knicks in that one game where they just shot the ball insanely well, but they've been struggling. And they have, just going through the actual numbers here, they're 10-16. They're only 4-7 at home, so not a good home team. They have lost 4 of their last 5, all 4 losses by at least 10 points. So not really that close. Now, the last time they faced off was the infamous Spo timeout when they didn't have one, and they lost in overtime. So that was the last time they faced off against each other. But Miami's been playing well, and I do think that Miami's starting to actually look sharp because they're healthy for once. But Bam's been great. Butler's been good. Hero's had moments too. And the Pistons, I feel like besides Cade, I don't know if I actually like the supporting cast that much. Like, Duran's taken a step back a bit stats-wise. You're looking at Ivy, who's been fine. Besides that, though, I don't know if they really have many guys that I like. I like Malik Beasley, who's been good from 3. Can't really defend, but he's a solid 3-point shooter. I just think Miami's got too much size and that they're right now are clicking, and I think that Detroit is kind of going through a bit of a slump. You could argue the time off is going to help them out because they've been playing pretty poorly and maybe they needed a couple days off to reset. But defensively, they've not been good. Offensively, it feels like Cade has to do everything for this team. I think Miami has more options offensively. Give me Miami -4.5.
Yeah, Detroit, I mean, they got off to a very good start during the regular season, but again, it's a lot of inconsistencies for this team. They are 4-4 as a home underdog this season, just as a home team. They are 8-6-1 ATS. But like we said, when this Miami squad is healthy, they are a really good basketball team, and I think that's been on display for this Miami Heat team. Just looking at their road numbers, they are 5-6 ATS on the road, and as a road favorite this season, they are 2-3 ATS. So not a very big sample, obviously, to go off to, but yeah, I like the Miami Heat side here as well. I laid the points here -4.5. Like you mentioned, Tyler Hero's been playing well. I think Bam should have a pretty big game here as well against the Detroit Pistons. But yeah, give me the Miami Heat here in this game up against the Pistons. Any thoughts on the total here, Scott?
Total's a bit tricky because the first game went under, second game went over. I think I would have to go with the over. Maybe Miami team total over, but Detroit defensively has just really not been good. They've given up at least 120 points in 3 of their last 4 games, gave up 111 to Philly, and I don't believe Embiid played in that game. So defensively, they have just been in absolute shambles. I'm going to go with the over, but it might just be Miami team total over.
Yeah, I think that would be the look here for me as well. Miami team total over in this matchup here. Really didn't have a feel for the total, but if you had a gun to my head, I would go with the over. All right, let's keep it moving here. Next game on the board, we'll go over to the Philadelphia 76ers. They are in Charlotte to take on the Hornets. Charlotte catching 3 points here at home with a total of 217. Looking at the injury report, starting here with Philadelphia, Joel Embiid out. He is now dealing with a right sinus fracture. Jared McCain, unfortunately, did have a left meniscus tear in his knee. So he will be out for an indefinite amount of time for the Sixers team. Real unfortunate there. For the Charlotte Hornets, LaMelo Ball has been upgraded to questionable in this game. He's been dealing with the left calf strain. Trey Mann is also out for this game, and that is pretty much it here. So Paul George is a go. Tyrese Maxey is a go in this game for the Sixers, and we'll keep an eye out for LaMelo Ball. He is upgraded to questionable for this Hornets team, but Hornets catching 3 here. Scott, what are your thoughts on this one?
I mean, a lot of it might depend on if LaMelo is going to end up playing, obviously, because they are extremely just awful offensively when he doesn't play. Having said that, I think I actually am going to go with Philly in this game. I'm not going to bet this because both teams are awful, but I think Maxey and Paul George are enough. I mean, George has been kind of a mess this season. Maxey, I think, can have a pretty solid game just in general, especially if LaMelo is going to be guarding him. But Charlotte offensively has been just brutal. Scoring 95 against Chicago is impressive because they give up about 120 if you walk into the building. So scoring 95 is pretty tough to do. But they scored 95 against Chicago, scored 113 against Indiana, 102 against Cleveland, 101 against the Knicks, 104 against Philly. Faced off about 2 weeks ago. Philly did win that game on the road by 6. Just going down the line, they can't score. Now, if LaMelo plays, that fixes some things, but they have scored less than I got to do the math here. They've scored less than 105 in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of their last 9 games. They've scored less than 105. They can't put the ball in the basket. Like, there's no way I'm going to bet this either way. I see Rob mentioning that it's extremely painful to suggest laying the points with the 76ers. Once again, I'm not going to bet this game, but if you're asking who I think is a better team, I would still probably say Philly. Really low bar I have with Charlotte. So I'm not going to bet this game, but I'll go Philly if I had to pick.
Yeah, Phil's actually 3-2 ATS as a road favorite thus far this season. Again, a very small sample size, but it's what you mentioned that this Charlotte Hornet team has been struggling to shoot the basketball and frankly score. They did match up back on November 10th. The Charlotte Hornets lost that game 107-105. I think that was the only matchup thus far this season. Oh, they had a second matchup as well. That was a 110-104 victory as well for the Philadelphia 76ers as a 5-point favorite in that game there. So even without without Embiid, even without Jared McCain in this game, I think that Tyrese Maxey should get fit to that backcourt of the Charlotte Hornets. So I do like I also like the Sixers side here. Again, until I see this Hornets team start scoring the basketball again, whether that's tonight with LaMelo Ball come back or maybe later in this week, they do play again on the 20th, which would be Thursday of this week again. So that'll be the fourth and final match of the season between these two teams. So, but at least for tonight, I do like the Sixers side minus the 3. All right.
I see
Total
JT. I was going to say, asking about the total. I can't take an over.
Yeah.
They might get there, but I can't take it. Charlotte, I said before, can't score. We said LaMelo's questionable, which is definitely a step in the right direction. Is he playing? We have no idea. Like, questionable is a sign, of potential progress, but there's no guarantee he's going to be ready. I'll go through shoot around. Let's see how he feels. But if he doesn't play, they can score. And if he does play, it's not like they were great offensively anyway. The Sixers defensively have been fine. Offensively, they've kind of been, I'd say, underwhelming this season. Let's put it that way. I think it's under or pass, but I'm just not going to play this game, at least from a side or a total perspective. For props, there are probably some angles. If you find some guys you want to back with Embiid being out, with, for example, now McCain being out, you can find usage on bad teams. Like, I think you can find props, but for the side and total, it's definitely rough for this game.
Yeah. The two matchups, they did split on the total 1-1, but again, you might want to go look at who played and who did not play in those games for both teams. All right, let's keep it moving here. Next game on the board, we'll go with the Cleveland Cavaliers. They are in Brooklyn to take on the Nets. Nets are catching 10 points here at home with another total of 217 in this game. Looking at the injury report, start here with the Cavs. They are going to be, where are the Cavs? Cavs. Here we go. Evan Mobley is probable. He has been dealing with that left ankle sprain. Craig Porter Jr. also questionable, also dealing with the left ankle sprain. Max Strus is out for this game. And then for the Brooklyn Nets, Bojan Bogdanovic is out. DeAnthony Milton, of course, trade pending, but he's been done for the year. Cam Thomas is out. Zaire Williams is out as well. And Dark Whitehead is out as well. So, guys, officially out. Bogdanovic, Cam Thomas, Zaire Williams, and Dark Whitehead for the Brooklyn Nets. Scott, your team catching 10 points here at home against the Cavs. What are your thoughts on this matchup?
So the Nets, we know, have been willing to trade away some pieces. They just traded away Schroeder, who was one of the best players on the entire roster for the entire season. which is a sign that they are starting to realize we're a bit too good at basketball for the actual expectations that we had going into the season. Cleveland's been great. Of course, they're not as good as they were when they started the year because they won about like 15 games in a row. But they've been good in general. They've been good against the Nets in the past. Nets gave them a bit of a run for their money last meeting, but the Cavs, of course, are the better team. The issue is all the injuries. I'm not sure how the Nets are supposed to score because Schroeder was the main, I'd say, focal point of the offense with Cam Thomas being out. And now they don't really have a main, I'd say, playmaker on the roster. So when you're talking about not even just scoring, but setting up other guys, I know you have Ben Simmons who is coming off the bench. We'll see if they reinvent the starting lineup or they tweak some things. But do you trust this offense to do anything? Because Schroeder was really the one who was kind of setting a lot of his teammates up. He was the one who had the ball at the end of the shot clock with Cam Thomas being out. Now you got to reinvent your entire offense basically on the fly. I'm not sold by that proposition. So I think if I had to go with this game, I'd probably go Cleveland. Maybe if you want to go for like halftime, full-time, that could be worth something, maybe wire to wire. But I think I got to go with Cleveland. They have more size. They have more scoring. Mitchell always kills the Nets. They just can't guard him. And without Dennis Schroeder, I don't know what you're going to do offensively. So I'll go with the Cavs. I would probably, once again, try to find a way to avoid laying 10. So maybe if you want to go for like a maybe if you want to go for a potential, I'd say, first quarter wire-to-wire thing, you can probably do that. But I don't know if the Nets are going to score. They have a lot of injuries, and Schroeder was really, really good. Like, I think people acknowledge that Schroeder's having a good year. I don't think they realize how good of a year he was actually having. Because Schroeder's averaging, in addition to averaging a bunch of points, he's also averaging about 6+ assists per game. Schroeder was averaging 18.4 points per game and 6.6 assists on pretty solid efficiency, 38.7% from three and 88.9% from the line. Like, he was great. I think him being out of the lineup now is going to be a serious issue for this offense. I'll go with Cleveland.
Yeah, I think the Cleveland side is the side here for me as well. I mean, you take a look at the matchup earlier this season between these two teams. It was a 105-100 victory for the Cleveland Cavaliers, but I believe that was a game that the Cavs were on a back-to-back, that second game against the Brooklyn Nets. And 44 of the 100 points that the Nets scored were from Dennis Schroeder and Cam Thomas, who, number one, Cam Thomas, like I mentioned, not playing tonight, and Dennis Schroeder traded, obviously, to the Golden State Warriors. So, now you're expecting guys like Cam Johnson, who, yes, in that game, he scored 23. He's been one of the more the better scorers on this roster. But outside of that, you're relying on some of these other guys that I just think aren't going to be able to keep up with the scoring of the Cleveland Cavaliers in this matchup. So I think, yeah, just kind of looking at it from that perspective, I do think that the Cavs side would be the side here for me. Total at 217 here. Scott, anything on that?
I think it would just be the Nets team total under because Cleveland could, in theory, bury this team.
Okay.
Like, if Cleveland ends up hitting a bunch of threes and you end up going for about 120, none of us would be surprised. Yeah. There's definitely a possibility for this game. The Nets, though, when you're looking at the potential scoring options, Cam Johnson's been fine this year. Not as good lately. He did get injured, so he's been kind of working his way back from that. Besides that, though, does he really create much off the dribble? Not really. He's more of a catch-and-shoot guy. But in order to actually get that, you need somebody to actually attack the basket to create penetration. And I'm wondering who that guy is going to be. Is that, like, hypothetically Ben Simmons? Like, I don't know what you have, because Finney-Smith is a guy that can kind of also be a stand-and-shoot three-point shooter. I don't really know how many options you have when it comes to attacking the basket and applying pressure to the defense. So I don't really see many options. So I'll go with the under on the Nets, daring somebody to attack the basket successfully. I don't see many options.
Yeah, I think even then you have to deal with, obviously, Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, right? And I think that's been the strength of their defense with those two guys defending the rim for them. I'll quickly just mention this player prop, Evan Mobley. I'll have to see if he's going to be on some type of minutes restriction, but his rebounds at 8.5 is something that's intriguing to me. Last two matchups against the Nets, he's had 14 points, 12 rebounds, and 23 points and 16 rebounds in those two games. But I'll see if there's some type of minutes restriction on him because he was out with that ankle injury for this Cavs team. All right, anything else for this game, Scott?
No, not really. Once again, the Nets, it was fun while it lasted. At the end of the day, they had to get worse because they were a bit too good. So I'm not surprised. We'll see if Cam Thomas ends up even coming back. Could they
Yeah.
potentially delay his return? We'll see. But the Nets might have to start plummeting down the standings to try to secure a top 3 pick.
Yeah.
It might be a sign that after the Schroeder trade this weekend, for a bunch of second-round picks too, didn't even get back actual assets. They got back a couple second-round picks and an injured Melton, who's out for the entire season.
Yeah.
So they basically admitted through that trade by acquiring somebody who can't play. We are trying to tank.
Yeah.
So I feel like fading the Nets might be starting now.
All right. Before we get over to the next game on the schedule, let me tell everyone about mybookie.ag. MyBookie has been running on SGPN for years. Check out their new and improved website, great on mobile, plus props for every game and the live dealer casino. They even have a new early cash out option available as well. Head to mybookie.ag. Make sure you use that promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit match of up to $1,000. And plus, they'll throw in a $10 casino chip for you as well. That's mybookie.ag. Make sure you use that promo code SGPN. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm. SGPN's prop partner Rhythm is a #1 AI sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models in seconds and get predictions for betting on money lines, spreads, totals, and props. Build your own model, copy one of the top performing models from the leaderboard, or have Rhythm build a model for you. Now you can track props in the Rhythm app. NFL picks, NFL props, college football, college basketball, NBA. Rhythm has it all. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. All right, next game on the board, we'll go over to the Chicago Bulls. They are in Toronto to take on the Raptors. Raptors are currently laying, this line has flipped. Let me change the banner, but the Bulls are favored by 1.5 points in this game with a total of 240.5. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, start here with the Chicago Bulls. They will be without EJ Liddell. Of course, we already know. Questionable tags on Dallin Terry and Zach LaVine, and then probable tags on Lonzo Ball and Nikola Vucevic. So Vucevic and Ball probable, LaVine and Terry questionable. For the Toronto Raptors, of course, we know Scotty Barnes is out with the right ankle sprain. Bruce Brown continues to be out as well, and Emmanuel Quickley is out for this game here as well. So Barnes, Bruce Brown, and Emmanuel Quickley all out for the Raptors. Raptors catching a 1.5 here at home, Scott, with a total of 240.5. What are your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, I think conceptually I got to go with Chicago. I can't back the Raptors without Scotty Barnes. I just can't do it. I've seen them play for a couple of weeks without him, whether it was this current injury when he was injured previously. Damn, this team sucks when he doesn't play. Now, both teams are bad. Like, both teams are potentially going to be tanking by season's end. Bulls are only 4 under, though. They could be a lot worse. I think we probably thought they were going to be a lot worse. Toronto being at 7-19 sounds about right going to the season. They've lost 4 straight. Yes, against decent competition, facing off against the Heat, the Knicks, the Mavericks, and the Thunder. But they're not good. We all know this. Watching Barnes be out and watching Quickley, who's been out for a while. We should be coming back in maybe a month or so. We'll see. But I think the Bulls are better. I think they have more scoring depth. Looking at Toronto's offense, what do they have? Not much you really like. Just going down the actual lineup. So I think if you're asking me which team's deeper and which team can actually score, I'll go with the Bulls. They did hold the Hornets to 95 last week, so they did at least have one good game defensively. But the point is, if you're expecting a high total of 240.5 and you're picking each team to potentially get to 120, let's say you actually get the track meet that you're expecting. Who do you have more faith in to reach 120? The Bulls or the Raptors? Probably the Bulls.
Yeah.
So in a track meet where both teams don't guard anybody, I'll take the offense that I know is better than the other teams. So give me the Bulls.
Yeah, again, I mean, this Raptors team is used to playing without Scotty Barnes. He missed that time earlier this season. I believe it was the eye injury, I believe. But again, it's the fact that I know Chicago can go out there and score 120 plus points at the way that they play offense this season. One of the more faster paced teams as well. Toronto, I know at home has been really good ATS. See if I can get their numbers, or I think that's on the road. I'm sorry. Let me just double check here. So Toronto this season overall ATS I'll have to go back to the main page. Let me see if I can get it. But they've been a team that, again, on the road got off to that, I think, like, 8-0 ATS on the road to start the season. I think that's cooled off a little bit for them. And like you mentioned, right, this team is just completely different when you don't have a Scotty Barnes out there, who was the guy who was just absolutely filling up the stat sheet for the Toronto Raptors. They are one of the best ATS teams thus far this season, 18-8 against the number. At home this season, they are 10-3 against the number. But I would really want to see what those numbers look like without Scotty Barnes on the floor. But yeah, gun to my head, I'd go with the Bulls here. I don't love it. I don't really want to lay points with the Bulls on the road, but I also don't want to take it with the Toronto Raptors without Scotty Barnes there. I think this could be a higher scoring game. This number obviously reflects that at 240, but even at 240, I do think that this could get up and over the number here. I think that the Toronto Raptors still have enough offensively with Grady Dick, RJ Barrett, Ochai Abachi has really stepped up in the absence of Scotty Barnes as well. Jakob Hartley's even all been involved offensively for this team. So say all that, I do like the over in this game.
Yeah, I see a question involving who's going to score for Toronto besides RJ. That's exactly my point. Like, if you're looking at what should be a high total, you need multiple guys to contribute. The answer would be Grady Dick, who's been pretty streaky as a three-point shooter, but he's had a pretty good year in general. So when you're looking at the actual options, like Baji has not exactly been that great in terms of efficiency. Of course, Dick's had a couple of great games, kind of cooled off recently. They're at a triple-double against Miami. Couldn't shoot to save his life in that game, but he had a triple-double. Point is, though, I think when you're looking at the Raptors, we know that this team has a lot of young, I'd say interesting talent, but I don't think that the team is really, just all intents and purposes, that good. The Bulls have been fine. They look like an actual NBA team. Toronto, I can't say the same for. Toronto, maybe it was the quotes from Jakob Poeltl during the offseason. They're very interested in player development as opposed to actually winning games. The Bulls still have the band together for no reason with Vucevic and with Levine, etc.
Yeah.
I just take the Bulls more seriously as a team. So I'll go with the Bulls. I think they can get to 120. Dumb on the team total. Toronto, though, unless Dick and Barrett have great games, I don't know where the points are going to come from. So that's why I'm on Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, you take a look at the points per game, for this Raptors team. Obviously, Scotty Barnes was leading this team in scoring. And then it's RJ Barrett was leading this team in scoring, and then Scotty Barnes. But you're missing that 20.6 points per game for Scotty Barnes. Jakob Poeltl averaging 16, Grady Dick at 18 points per game. Ochai averaging 11.3. So I think until, like you mentioned, they get Emmanuel quickly back, or even like a Bruce Brown type. I know that he's the official injury designation for him is that he's working on his conditioning to come back. But I think it'll just be like taking RJ Barrett, like PRA, or just his points.
It's really just about usage. Like, the ball's going to be in Barrett's hands the entire game because both Quickly and Barnes are out. So the ball's going to be in Barrett's hands the entire time. So if you want to go for PRA, if you want to go for maybe even just going for points, even if you don't like Barrett as a player, the volume is going to be so insane that you probably have to at least consider it.
Yeah, and trying to look at his last couple games here. So he did have a triple-double against the Miami Heat, but only scored 13 points in that game. But I think you mentioned the splits for him at home and road, Scott, but they are a night and day difference.
They're not very good at home.
Yeah. They're good at home.
That's what I meant. They're not very good on the road. They're good at home.
They're not very good at on the road for RJ Barrett. So this might be a spot here for him at home to really get cooking. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. Anything else for this game? You got anything?
Not really. Once again, I prefer Bulls team total over.
Okay.
If you think Toronto scores, I think I'd rather pick a player, because if they're going to end up getting to a reasonable number, like 110 or 120, instead of backing all of their bad players, I'd rather just back the guys with a lot of usage. Yeah. Like, for example, is Toronto going to actually reach realistically 115 points unless Barrett goes for like 30 or Dick goes for 20? Probably not. So I'd rather bet on one of those two guys.
All right, let's keep it moving here. Next game on the board, we'll get over to the Sacramento Kings. They are hosting the Denver Nuggets in this matchup. Kings laying 1.5 points in this game with a total of 237.5. Looking at the injury report for this game, we'll start here with the Denver Nuggets. Christian Braun is questionable here tonight, and Jamal Murray is probable. Dario Saric is out for the Denver Nuggets. And for the Sacramento Kings, Trey Lyles continues to be out. Kevin Huerter is doubtful here tonight. He's dealing with a shoulder sprain. But everybody else is a go for this Kings team. Should be a good matchup here. Sacramento laying 1.5 at home against the Denver Nuggets. Total 237.5 here. Scott, what are your thoughts on this matchup?
So I'll start off with a question for you. Do you believe that the Kings should be favored in this game?
I think with the way the Denver Nuggets have been playing recently, I don't think so. It feels like the Denver Nuggets may have figured things out offensively, but it's the question, do you trust their defense right now? And you could say the same thing about Sacramento, which is why I do like the over in this game, but I'm not sure I trust the Sacramento Kings right now as a home favorite, even if it is by 1.5. So to answer your question, no.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of in the same boat as you because, Joker's the best player on the floor by a wide margin. Having said that, I do think that Fox and Sabonis and all the other guys, of course, are no slouches, and Monk could be a serious matchup problem for Denver to handle. But for this matchup, I think the Kings are definitely, I'd say, worthy of being favorites, in my opinion, at least. They've been good lately. I mean, they've won 3 straight. They were not great against New Orleans, got the job done at the end, though. Huerter screwed me on the 3-pointers, though, because he was like 1 of 8 from the floor from 3. But the point is, they've been better at home lately, beat the Jazz by about 44, beat the Rockets by 19. They've been fine at home. I think that Denver, even though this team has been playing better recently, they still are really bad in the first half of games, and that's been a serious problem for them. So maybe if you want to go for Kings first half, I don't hate it. I think it's going to be a fun game. Should come down to the wire. This might be a win margin type game. If you're picking a team to win, just take 1 to 10. Like, I think these teams are going to kill each other. I think it might come down to the wire. But if you want to get a better price, maybe if you like the Nuggets, for example, you might like Nuggets 1 to 10. Game's going to be in the balance. They'll make enough plays late. And I do think that could be a potential outcome here. So I think that it makes sense the Kings are favored. I'd rather go Kings first half. But I think if you want to go for whichever side you're picking to win this game, go with the win margin. Go for 1 to 10.
Yeah, curious to see who's actually been stepping up in these spots because Jokic hasn't had Nikola Jokic type of games, at least against the Sacramento Kings. Last game, barring it was a blowout, 14, and 11. Yeah, he did get the triple-double, but, we're so used to him being at 25, 15, and 11. And even a previous matchup, he didn't play that well. But yeah, I think that, like you mentioned, it does come down to the wire. I mean, this could be a game where he does go off against the Kings here. Be curious to see if Sabonis does get into foul trouble trying to defend him, if he is going to be matched up on Nikola Jokic here tonight. But I do like the Nuggets side here in this game. Maybe this is an opportunity that if you see maybe the Kings get out early, you come back and take the Denver Nuggets because they have been a pretty good third quarter team this season. And I would look at it that way. But if you're asking me pregame, I would look at the Denver side here. But I'll have the live screen on for sure for this game because, again, with the very close spread, the NBA, we know it's a game of runs. And again, if Sacramento does get out to a run early, and come out to get some nice plus odds on the Denver Nuggets in this game.
That could be an angle too if you want to go for largest comeback 10 plus. It's usually a decent price. That could be worth something.
Anything for the total, Scott? 237.5.
I think I'm actually looking towards the under in this game. Look at the actual head-to-head meetings recently. Each of the last 2 meetings did land below 214. So you have seen a couple low-scoring games between them. Denver defensively has not been good. Did hold the Clippers to less than 100, so maybe they have at least showed signs of progress. Kings defensively been fine, though. They have allowed less than 116 in, I believe, 5 straight. Now, I think Denver offensively is still solid, obviously, with Joker, but I think the total's a bit high. Like, I know that Sacramento wants to run. Do I think that Denver wants to join them in a track meet? I'm not sure about that. I think Denver might be willing to go in the half court, let Joker operate, and let things kind of work themselves out in the half court sets that they run. Gordon back cuts to the rim. You get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
I think Denver might try to slow the pace down because with Joker being involved, you don't want to let the Kings end up with a bunch of transition opportunities. I think the total's a bit high. If it gets there, it gets there because both offenses are solid. But I think I'm going to go with the under. I think this total's a bit high.
Yeah, I couldn't talk you off like you mentioned over the last two meetings there for both of these squads. Ended up going under the total there. It just makes me nervous. Like you mentioned, like they want to play fast, and then that could be, or I feel like Denver went with Jokic out there. They do want to play fast because they try to either on miss shots or even out of bounds, like taking the ball out after a made basket. They want to get up and down the floor there. But would I be surprised if it gets up and over the total? Absolutely not. But yeah, I would still look at the over out for my side, at least for this game. All right, last game of the night here, Scott. We've got the Utah Jazz. They are in LA to take on the Clippers. Clippers currently laying 8 points at home with a total of 223. Injury report. Starting with the Jazz side, Jordan Clarkson is officially listed as questionable. Taylor Hendricks is out, and that is pretty much it. Colin Sexton is available tonight on the injury report. For the LA Clippers, Terrence Mann is out, and also Derrick Jones Jr. Harden should be playing in this game, as well as Norman Powell for the LA Clippers. Clippers laying 8 points in this game, Scott, with a total of 223. What are your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, I think I'm going to spend a pretty short amount of time breaking this game down. I'll go with the Clippers team total over. Utah was more competitive last game against the Suns, not because of defense, but because they could actually score. The Jazz, though, have allowed at least 133 points in 3 of their last 4 games.
Yep.
133. They can't stop anybody. They switch into this random zone defense, which never works, and they keep using it in a bunch of these games. But we know that they're tanking. I don't take them seriously at all. The Clippers did get smacked by the Nuggets, and I do think that they should be pretty motivated after losing 3 straight. They've not been playing well, but I think you're looking at a spot where Utah, I just can't trust. They're 3-9 on the road. Defensively, though, they don't even bother getting off the team bus. I can't back you if you're not going to stop anybody defensively. I'll go with the over in this game. Team total over for the Clippers, but I just see points. That's my main thought for this game.
Yeah, well, it's exactly what you mentioned. I mean, if you were paying attention to the Jazz over the past several weeks here, they have not been very good defensively. With Norman Powell in the lineup, obviously, I do like that next to James Harden because he's been an absolute monster this season for the LA Clippers, averaging over 20 points per game. James Harden has been playing well this season as well, and the other guys have also stepped up in those spots for the LA Clippers. So that's my favorite play in this game. If you're looking at a side, I would still lay the points here with the Clippers. Just like Scott mentioned, this team just cannot stop anybody right now. So, yeah, Clippers team total over. Clippers on the side here as well. Anything else for this game, Scott?
No, not really. Once again, not going to spend too much time on it. I think Harden probably walks into like 12 assists in this game, or however many he wants. But the Jazz keep going to the zone defense, and it's just a monumental waste of time because they don't stop anybody from actually scoring. So, yeah.
And now you have guys that on this Clippers team that actually knock down a 3-point shot as well. So maybe if we look at like a Norman Powell 3-point prop in this game, if they do go to that zone, I couldn't talk you off of that in this game. All right, so that is the last game of the night here for the Monday card. Let's get into our lock and dog, and then we'll put together our Underdog Fantasy entry here for tonight. Scott, you want to lead us off?
Sure. So for my lock, I really want to take the Bulls, but I don't know who's playing for them, which is pretty annoying. Because if LaVine was in, I probably would take Chicago. I mean, even if he's not, though, he's still got Kobe White. He's still got some options. I think the Toronto team is so bad. Like they are so bad. You know what? I think I actually am going to do it. Give me the Bulls to get the job done, -1.5. It's dangerous, but the total's 240.5. But I think that the Bulls can actually score. I have faith in their offense, whether LaVine plays or not. Kobe White, we saw what he did last year when LaVine was out of the lineup. I like their overall, I'd say, depth offensively, compared to Toronto at least. Toronto has Barrett and Dick. That's basically it. So I don't see many options for them. Give me the Bulls -1.5 on the road. 7-6 also on the road. Really not that bad, Chicago. So I'll fade the Raptors without Scotty Barnes, who I think are a bottom 5 team in the league when Barnes doesn't play. That'll be my lock. For my dog, I'm trying to think of what I want to go with this one. I think for this one, I'm going to go with a player prop. And for this one, I am going to go with the Sixers game, actually. I see Yabusele, who should be getting decent amount of run time because Embiid's going to be out of the lineup, of course. I see rebounding chances. I can get Yabusele for 7+ rebounds at plus 185 on DraftKings. To go through the numbers without Embiid in the lineup, because of course they have Drummond, who doesn't play much in general, but he's going to be one of the main big men who's going to play. With Embiid being out, he's had at least 7 rebounds in 7 of the last 9 games. And on top of that, when Embiid doesn't play, he's played at least 32 minutes in each of the last 3 games. So I see a lot of chances for rebounds for Yabusele in this matchup. I think the price is too low. Give me Yabusele over 6.5 rebounds at plus 185.
All right. For my lock, I'm gonna stay in that same game. I'm gonna take the under in this game. I think even with LaMelo Ball, with possibly being back tonight, I still think that there'll be some rust to him. Maybe they have some type of minute restriction on him in this game, even returning. But again, with Paul George not playing well, Tyrese Maxey's really your only option. Like you mentioned, you see plenty of rebounding opportunities in this game. I do like the under in this game between the Sixers and the Hornets until the Hornets can start proving to me that they can score more than 105 points in a game. I do like the under in this game at 217. For my dog here tonight, I know I liked most of the chalk here for the slate, so probably also have to be a player prop for me. Curious to see what RJ Barrett's points are at. I think I took this last game and didn't work out for me, but being at home for RJ Barrett here tonight, 30 plus is at plus 175. So I do like that.
He's a proud Canadian.
Yeah,
Loves to play
100%.
So.
So I'll take that. RJ Barrett, 30 plus points here tonight, plus 175 as my dog here for tonight to wrap up the lock and dog segment. And now we'll put together our Underdog Fantasy entry here for the Monday card. Again, underdogfantasy.com. Make sure you guys get over there. Use our promo code NBA SGPN. Get yourself a first-time deposit offer of up to 50% up to $1,000. Courtesy of Underdog Fantasy. All right, Scott. Where do we want to start here for tonight?
I think I'm just going to start off with the Harden higher on his assists. Utah can't stop anybody. Once again, 133 plus in 3 of the last 4 games.
Yeah.
I got to start there because the Clippers might walk into 120 accidentally.
So they have 8.5 at 0.92x, and they have 9.5 at 1.1x spicy.
Yeah, let's go with the double-double.
All right.
I'm assuming we agree on that. Utah can't stop
100%.
anybody.
Yeah. All right, so James Harden there will take that up to 9.5 assists for his spicy. What else do we like for tonight? You mentioned Yabusele. You want to throw him in there?
Sure. We can go with we'll go with the PRA on that one. We'll go with the higher.
Okay, let me see if they even have him listed.
It's just a pure usage thing because Embiid being out, Yabusele actually plays a lot of minutes.
17.5 PRA higher for Yabusele. And then we'll throw in one more here.
I feel like we need something in that Bulls game because the total's like 240.5.
Yeah. Let me get to that. So they have Levine listed. They have Vucevic, Kobe White. They have Grady Dick.
You know what? I'm actually kind of interested in Giddey PRA.
Giddey PRA is at 25.5.
Yeah, I think I'm fine with that. He's actually had some pretty good stat games recently. Just actually look at the last couple games. Giddey in the last game ended up having 17, 9, and 7. Game before that, he had 9, 7, and 11. Game before that, he had 10, 5, and 6. 10, 5, and 6 isn't that great, but the point is his minutes have actually gone up. He's played 29-plus minutes in 2 straight. So the Bulls are starting to kind of lean into him a bit more. And he's put up borderline double-doubles or triple-doubles the last 2 games. And the total's about 240.5. So if the Bulls end up getting to 120 and change, Giddey should get enough opportunities to at least contribute stat-wise. So I like the PRA.
All right. So that'll be our entry here for tonight. We're going to go with James Harden, higher 9.5 assist. That's a 1.16x spicy we'll go Yabusele of the Philadelphia 76ers, PRA, higher 17.5. And then Josh Giddey of the Chicago Bulls, PRA, higher 25.5. That's a 6.96 entry. So every $10 that you do put in, you'll get a return of $69.60, courtesy of Underdog Fantasy. Again, make sure you guys get over there, underdogfantasy.com. Make sure you use our promo code NBA SGPN. First-time depositors, I should say, will get a bonus of up to 50% up to $1,000. They also have all these great profit boosts and everything as well to make it really easier for you to win entries over on Underdog Fantasy. All right, that's going to wrap it up here for this edition of the NBA Gambling Podcast. Nice tidy slate here on the Monday card in the NBA. Of course, tomorrow we'll have the NBA Cup final between the Thunder and the Bucks in Vegas. So look out for that episode with Scott and Terrell tomorrow. But Scott, anything else you want to mention before we get out of here?
Not really. Tennis going to come back. I believe we're going to have an episode either tonight or tomorrow. So if you've been waiting for a month like I have, tennis is back. So I'll be doing an episode at some point.
There we go. Make sure you guys get over there. Tennis Gambling Podcast. Tennis season kicking off next week.
Oh, it starts actually in about 2 days.
Okay, so 2 days. There we go. All right. So yeah, make sure you guys get over there. Tennis Gambling Podcast with Scott. He's been crushing it over with the tennis. So hopefully that continues into the new season here as well. Make sure you guys follow Scott over on the Twitter machine at Reichel Radio. You can follow me there as well at SportsNerd824. If you haven't already, subscribed to the NBA Gambling Podcast YouTube account or channel, I should say. Please go and do us a favor, subscribe and hit that like button on your way out on the live stream here. We'd definitely appreciate it if you guys could do that for us. All right, we'll be back tomorrow. Look out for us then. Till then, good luck with your bets. Let's break these books off and always remember to let it ride.
Basketball.